Hey everyone, this is your captain speaking. So happy to be with everybody. It's been a little while, but I wanted to check in and let you know what's happening in the skies above, focusing on this month and next month. Currently, we're checking in under one of my favorite alignments, a Moon Venus conjunction, what are sometimes called Venus gates. This is the second Venus gate of her morning cycle. Since she's been a morning star, this is the second Moon Venus conjunction. And for me, these last few years, this has just been the core of my astrological practice. Going out to actually look at Venus and especially looking at her when she's joined by the moon, usually once a month, either in the evening sky or in the morning sky. She makes 7 appearances in the evening sky with the moon, and then she transitions to be a morning star and is joined by the moon 7 more times, sometimes 8, as in this case. And yes, it's the most beautiful astronomical event, at least one of them. There's another one coming up on Saturday, a solar eclipse. That does give it a run for its money, I'll have to say. But in terms of something you can see regularly, pretty much guaranteed, as long as the weather cooperates, there's not much better than a Moon Venus conjunction. And today was the first day that they were close enough for me to basically feel like the gate is open, and that we're in the portal, the Moon Venus portal. These Venus gates or Rose Gate portals. The gate word refers to the Inanna mythology, where she had to go through 7 gates to the underworld and then come back out through 7 gates. I think it's a really helpful myth for understanding some of what's going on with these Venus gates. But I guess I just want to encourage everybody to move beyond the Inanna myth. Not that it's not awesome, but I think it's important that we find our own relationship with every astronomical alignment. Certainly, it's helpful to know what other astrologers have experienced and the way that they see things. But I feel we should all go out under the sky and make direct contact in our own unique way and be open to the unique guidance and messages that are meant for us. And so that's how I like to do things anyway. And the more I experience these Venus gates, the more I feel, yeah, like the Inanna myth, while helpful, is, yeah, it could actually obscure your own direct experience. And so, yeah, I guess I've been working with the idea of the gates. Rather than being gates into the underworld, they are gates into rose gardens. That's the way I like to think about it. Because I think generally, when you go out to see a Moon Venus conjunction, it's just strikingly beautiful. And to me, it doesn't really have an association with the underworld. It's more, I don't know, it's an encounter with the goddess of beauty and love, and the great mother goddess, and the image of a rose garden where there's lots of beautiful temples where you can pray and make offerings and do ceremony and ritual. And there's amazing paths where you can stroll along with Venus and she can whisper things to you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like to work with. So this would be the second gate into the second rose garden in the larger rose garden that has an inner sanctum somewhere down the road, but we're at the second gate. And so, yes, this particular rose gate is happening when Venus is at her maximum elongation from the perspective of the Earth. She's the furthest away from the sun as she gets, and that corresponds basically to her rising the earliest ahead of the sun, a full 3 hours before the sun, she is visible. And for me, the association there is like, and this happens both in the evening sky. There's a point where she's available 3 hours. She's available and visible 3 hours after sunset. And this is the moment where she's visible 3 hours before sunrise. And it's basically an opportunity for maximum intimacy with Venus and the moon, where you get 3 full hours to hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? And to pray and to be receptive to whatever guidance might be coming your way. For me, Moon Venus conjunctions are always about cultivating love, certainly, but especially I feel a meditation on self love and self compassion, gentleness, sweetness. The two together have a quality of a very loving, sweet, kind mother figure, maternal figure, or sweet, kind, loving, embracing friend. It's like, I feel like I've become friends with Venus the more I've hung out with her in the sky, like actually looking at her, spending time trying to directly connect with her to see, who is she? Who is this planet up there? And what is she, what is our relationship meant to be? What's the unique relationship that I'm meant to have with this beautiful light being? And so, yeah, certainly I've had the experience again and again of my heart opening during these Venus gates, these Moon Venus conjunctions. And I feel like that's the secret mystery teaching of the Rose Gates, that, yeah, there's always the potential for being more loving with yourself and others, potential for being kinder, gentler, more patient, more understanding with yourself and others. And I feel like that's their energy each month. It's like they're present to hold space in love and to witness you in a loving way as you're witnessing them in a loving way. And so, yes, this is Venus gate number 2, where she's visible for the longest with the moon. Tomorrow, I think that's what I've got up here. This is 3:16 a.m. Tomorrow morning, when the moon will just be 3 degrees from Venus. That's from my local perspective. If you're say in California, it would be at 3 a.m. They'd be a degree closer together, but this is a rough estimate. And so, yes, they're going to be very close together when Venus and the moon rise. And if you were really into this, you might hang out with them for the full 3 hours. If you want to get a little sleep, like I did this morning, you go out, you hang out with them, you pray, you're receptive to whatever messages might want to be coming your way. And I took some photographs. And yeah, that was I don't know, it was 30, 40-minute process. But then I got up again when it was closer to dawn to see how the colors change for the photos, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, you can spend as much time as you like with this Moon-Venus conjunction. And just generally speaking, I think the longer you engage with them, really gazing upon them and doing whatever spiritual process you might be inclined towards, whether it's some kind of sacred dialogue, or maybe it's journaling, maybe it's creating an altar, maybe it's just open-hearted prayer with receptivity to whatever comes. And I think this is an amazing practice to do with a loved one. It's just so suited to a Moon-Venus conjunction to go out and be with them with your lover, with a family member, your best friend. This morning I went out with my wife, and that's our intention every month to go out and see these Venus gates. And there's something about making that ritual intention month after month that brings the energy in. And it always feels like Moon Venus, like where there's a kind of sweetness, uh, a really loving, caring energy that feels like both connection for me and Marianella, but also a deep connection with the sky and with Venus and the moon, of course. There's a way in which Venus initiates us into the love of the sky. She's like saying, "Love me, love the moon, and love this whole experience of the sky." And yeah, so yes, get out there and see if you can feel Venus and the moon loving you and encouraging you to love yourself. And from that place of self love, to feel that spreading out to the world and to your friends and family and loved ones. And so, yes, this is what I wanted to begin with, the encouragement to get out there for Venus Gate number 2 in the sequence of what will actually be 8 Venus gates this time before Venus goes into the underworld, is hidden behind the sun. Right now, Venus is moving away from the Earth. And after these 8 Venus gates, it's over the course of, I think it's basically 7, 8 months in the morning sky. And then she's hidden for 2 to 3 months on the other side of the sun. And then 7 or 8 months in the evening sky. And then a couple weeks where she's not visible as she passes between the Earth and the sun. And so this is kind of early in the morning star phase of her movement around the sun. And yeah, I guess for me it's always an inquiry into what does this mean for me, that she's in the morning sky, that these Venus gates are happening in the morning. It's obviously like very different to be looking out at the eastern horizon before dawn, when everything's dark and quiet, versus the evening sky. Venus is right after sunset when everybody's still awake, and there's much more of a sense of aliveness, and yeah, it just feels very different. Sunset, it's often, it's warmer than it is in the morning, at the end of a long night. It's a lot cooler generally, versus it's still kind of warm, and there's just a sense of, yeah, that time of the day where there's still a lot of social intimacy and one-on-one intimacy with loved ones. And so there's something more silent, internal, private, vulnerable, in my experience, with the morning star phase of Venus. And yeah, this particular Venus gate that I saw this morning, it's like, yeah, it's just a special quality when you are able to see them so early in the morning. At 3:20 a.m., I was out hanging out with them, and it's like, yeah, it's the witching hour. Everything's just quiet, totally dark, and yeah, it's a deep one. And for me, there was a lot of deep, silent prayer this morning, and I felt like it was a special one. So I really want to encourage you to get out there these next 2 mornings. It'll be exact tomorrow, but still very close the morning after tomorrow. And maybe some of you won't be seeing this until after the alignment is exact, but please get out there the next morning, because it's still going to be spectacular. And actually, it's the third morning when the moon will be below Venus. Today it was above. Tomorrow it's still going to be slightly above for most people that'll see it. But the day after tomorrow, the moon will be underneath Venus. And I don't know why, but I just like the aesthetics of the moon underneath Venus. And so, yes, get out there, pray, do some ritual, connect with this amazing uh, alignment and sequence of alignments. I feel like the moon Venus conjunctions are a mystery school. I studied astrology for over 20 years without really understanding this cycle, the difference between an evening star Venus and a morning star Venus, and just understanding that there's 7 or 8 moon Venus conjunctions in the evening and 7 or 8 in the morning, and that there's this 2-3 month period where you can't see her. I just, for me, astrology was a more abstract thing until the last few years, when it's just been all about an embodied, direct, eye to eye contact with these lights in the sky. And it's just become, I don't know, a much more intimate kind of astrology. And yeah, it's been a real joy to open to the mystery school of these Venus alignments and these key moments in Venus's cycle. It's like an initiation into a new quality of intimacy with the sky, and definitely a sense of opening to a deeper connection with who Venus is. I had an understanding of who she was from, the mythology that I learned about her and what lots of astrologers have written about her, and many experiences from, understanding my natal chart and my transits, and definitely, deep contact with Venus. But I'm finding that actually getting out to look at her, it's like she sees us seeing her, and she's grateful that we want to get to know her more. Instead of just reading what the ancient Sumerians said about her, why don't we just sit down and have tea in a rose garden and pray together? And maybe I'll reveal something to you about who I am that I've never revealed to anybody else. Just like we do with the really special people in our lives who, give us their love, we tend to reveal ourselves more. And I think this happens in a very special way with Venus. And by doing this process each month, I think it's an initiation into a way of being with all of the planets, and especially the visible ones, where it's like you take the time to observe Saturn year by year. Saturn doesn't move very fast. It takes years to kind of track the movement of Saturn, and that kind of slow pace is conveyed through that kind of slow observation. In 2020, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that came together, it was the first time that I just regularly observed a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. They only happen every 20 years. And it's like watching them move across the sky together. They started to come close together in 2019. Then they got exact in 2020. And then they've started to move away in 21. It's like, yeah, for me, there's nothing like actually going out to see them regularly, 2 or 3 times a month, and taking photos, especially when the moon was with them. It just opened me to a different kind of astrology with different kinds of benefits that, yeah, different kinds of rewards for this kind of naked eye astrology, where the focus is on actually communing with the light of the planet. So anyway, this is your captain speaking, signing off, wishing you great sky gazing with Moon and Venus, sending so much love and light from Santa Marta, Colombia. Hoping you're all very well. And yeah, I'm going to continue here to cover some other things, but this is the end of this video. Sending love and light, everybody. Blessings.